Hello, my name is ALEXEI TOLIOPOULOS and I am the clerk of the Last Video Store. On this show, what we do is I'm joined by wonderful guests, interesting people, and we talk to them about the films they love. But we talk about them as if it were, or it is, a rental combo of a new release title, that's any movie from the last 5 years, to older films that I call weeklies because that is what they are always gonna be to me. And then I'm gonna follow that up with a staff pick recommendation based on their taste. We're joined by a special guest this week. It is Australian actor turned Hollywood hunk, one of my favorite guys around. It is Luke Bracey. You've seen Luke Bracey in HACKSAW RIDGE. You've seen him play a villainous character in Interceptor, a pretty ripper Netflix action movie. And you've seen him play a real life guy in Elvis, amongst many other movies that he has made. He is a great talent. He is a hard-working man, and he's got some great picks, so much so, because he's one of our first guests, I actually gave him a little lenience. I let him pick a whole extra weekly, and I'm feeling generous. I gave him 2 bespoke recommendations. So enjoy this chat with Luke. I think you will. I said that like Yoda, who's a film character, so it is a film reference that I did just then. But let's get to it right now. Hello and welcome to the Last Video Store.
Hello.
You're our first customer here. I'm going to sign you up to our store. You're our first member in the new digital system.
What an honour.
We've just gone from analog to digital, so you'll be member 001.
Oh,
What an
absolute honour.
Firstly, I'm going to need your name.
My name is Luke Bracey.
Okay, beautiful. I've heard of you, but we're going to need 2 pieces of ID to sign you up.
Okay, well, I've got a couple of pieces of ID here. This is a film I did called HOLIDATE.
This is a Christmas card from HOLIDATE.
Christmas card from HOLIDATE.
I love this movie, by the way.
Thank you.
I think it's like it was such a fresh rom-com, came at the exact right time. It is goofy, it's sweet, but the thing that I love most about it, it's so crude.
Yeah, I think we found there's something really great about it where there was a little bit of a gap kind of in the Christmas rom-com kind of world where there were either 4 teenagers or there were for maybe people maybe more middle-aged, and there was that kind of just honest kind of late 20s to 40-year-old kind of world where people are a bit cynical but also just want to have a laugh, and so there was a real good kind of space where that fit in when it came out, and people really love it. It's probably like one of the most popular ones I think that I've done that people really enjoy.
It's almost like you've got these 2 sides to your career at the moment. You've got like the action stuff like Interceptor, and then you've got like this fun, goofy, or even like sweet, like romantic or relationship movie side as well.
Yeah, HOLIDATE was the first time I really got to do a comedy type thing, and I just really enjoyed it. And I've been lucky. I've been able to do, as you say, you know, running around, you know, being a bit of an action man, or
shooting some squibs.
Yeah, I've worn green a couple of times.
That's like a rite of passage, right?
Yeah, and it's
with the fatigues on.
Exactly. So I've done that a couple of times, and it's all been really good. But they've all informed each other. I've always learnt things on one of them that's weirdly on a completely different type of film that I've taken stuff from, and I also just enjoy a bunch of different types of movies. So to be able to go into that world, it's the best bit about our job. We get to play expensive dress-ups in many different ways and like do all these funny things. So yeah, that's been good. And then my other piece of ID is I have a little bit of a role in the Elvis movie that came out last year. I play Jerry Schilling, who is
a real life guy?
Elvis's best mate. Yeah, and Jerry and I have become close friends actually, so it's been really exciting. Yeah.
Did you meet him before making the film? Was it research?
No, we did it in 2020, kind of towards the end, and we were on the Gold Coast, so I couldn't meet him. I'd sent him an email kind of when I got the job and just wanted to try and get in contact with him, but it got lost in the internets and didn't get to talk to him beforehand. And then I got to meet him, actually. It took a long time for me to meet him. I met him at the Warner Brothers after party of the Oscars this year. So we walked into the party and we were there with like the people from the film, all our mates from the film, and then Jerry was sitting there with his wife, and we kind of sat down and just chatted for hours at the party and drank a couple of martinis, and he told me stories.
Across the room and just
basically, as I walked in, I walked in the party, and he kind of looked at me and pointed at each other, and I know we're like exactly the same height. And his wife Cindy and him were just so adorable, and they were really complimentary of the film, and they were really happy with the job I did, which made me feel safe. So I was like, okay, good. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was a real thrill, and then obviously to work with Baz, which is and on a film like this.
I mean, such a humongous film.
Yeah, very few of them are this big anymore. And you know, you rock up to work and there's 300 extras dressed like the 1970s, and then you walk into the International Hotel in Las Vegas and you watch Elvis do 10-minute performances of Suspicious Minds and stuff. You're just going, wow, this is wild. A lot of us had the best seat in the house to that. It was pretty awesome. And then, yeah, Baz is a genius and an amazing man, and the whole crew and the cast and the whole time we had doing it was really special. It was a strange time in the world, kind of into 2020, into the start of 21, and we were up on the Goldie, which was a great place. It really felt like we were the luckiest people on earth being able to do this while everyone else was kind of having probably a pretty interesting and kind of upsetting time, and we just felt so lucky that we got to do it. So it was a thrill, and yeah, it was an awesome experience.
Do you know who gave Tom Hanks COVID?
I have no idea.
Are there theories out there?
No, I actually wasn't on the film before.
Whoa, so you got the
happened.
call up later.
I got the call when they restarted again, and I'm not sure what happened to the guy who was playing Jerry. He might have been from overseas or something, and kind of got a call from Baz saying, hey, I've seen a bit of your work, do you want to come and do this job? And I was like, not doing much else at the moment, mate. So
an easy yes, right?
Yeah, it was. Even if I was busy, I probably would have dropped things to go and do it, just because.
I mean, it's the Elvis movie. Come on, that's it.
Yeah, talking to a couple of people when we were working on it, a couple of people in the cast, and we were having dinner one time, and they were like, "Oh, it's pretty exciting to be in an Elvis movie." I was like, "Guys, it's not an Elvis movie. It's the Elvis movie. They're not going to make another one. Like, this is it."
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's a real thrill to be a part of that, and such an iconic story. And then, as I said, to play a guy as awesome and as lovely as Jerry was, just real privilege, real lucky. I'm a lucky boy.
One other thing I'd love to know about Elvis, because I feel like it's so rare where you see like one of those big leading performances where it feels like completely possessed by a real life figure. Like it feels like Elvis entered Austin Butler. What was that like being in the presence of? Did it feel like spooky, eerie?
I think the reason Austin was able to be as magical as he was and to do the job that you can't really describe how brilliant a job he did was because he worked really hard. That was it. He did a lot of work, and he lived and breathed it, and he worked really hard, and he did that for a long time. Yeah. And surprise, surprise, you work hard, and you get a lot of good help from people. And that's what happens. Yeah. You get brilliance, you know.
Was there moments where you're like, that's Elvis?
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird seeing him next to Elvis sometimes. He looked more like Elvis than Elvis did at times. I remember, it gives me shivers. I remember when he was filming the If I Can Dream in the white suit in front of the Elvis, singing that song, which is probably one of my favourite Elvis songs now. I obviously listened to the whole catalogue through it, and that's something really special about that performance and that song. And I remember being, just before I was going on to set, I was, in the background doing something, but they were doing some stuff, and I was in the AD trailer, and they had the monitor up, and they had kind of the 3 cameras, and then the 4th camera was the Elvis one, the original one.
Oh, and to make sure, to match it.
Yeah, because all the performances, they were, we called it train spotting, they were identical, right? And watching Austin do it, and Austin, Elvis on the monitor, it was really, really quite amazing. Quite amazing.
It's like spot the difference.
Yeah, it was wild. Right? And I'll never forget the kind of, I think it must have been maybe the end of the first week, and that was when we shot the 68 comeback special. He's in the black leather and it's in the round, and you know, that whole thing is quite amazing. All the extras, all the supporting artists were dressed as people from that. Like, it was all, everything was exactly the same. And then another thing was, no one in that room had been in a room with that many people for months, 8 months. We'd only been in a room with 10 people at the most. So suddenly there was 400, 500 people in a room, an audience. No one had been to a concert in that long.
Oh my gosh.
And Baz, as a director and as a leader and a captain of a ship, is amazing at creating an energy and really had that place absolutely bouncing. And the roof was coming off that soundstage by the end of that. And it was the end of a week, I think. And I remember we all kind of finished that Friday evening and everyone was coming down from it. We all walked out, we were all looking at each other going, that was amazing, right? Like, that wasn't just me, and everyone was just in kind of shock that we were actually doing it, and that we time traveled and saw Elvis perform. And it was just a confluence of all these different things, of getting the first week away and getting that first big performance off, and so all those things, and that was the tone was set for the film then. Then it was like, oh, this is amazing, and wow, we just kind of, in the nicest spooky way. It felt spooky, but in the best way. It was an absolute thrill. It was something I won't ever forget. And then, you know, then we just kept having those feelings for 6 months.
Oh my gosh, I've got those feelings now. I've got actual goosebumps.
Yeah, it was pretty special.
Well, those IDs check out. I have one final question I have to ask you before I sign you up. Are you, or have you ever been, a member of another video store?
I have. Our family video store growing up in Freshwater was Civic Video.
Civic Video,
Civic
wow.
Video in
I
Harbour.
lost relic.
And it's right on the corner of Albert Street there, and just spent a lot of time in that video store as a kid, you know, probably going once a week, and yeah, just loved it. When I think of the video store, the one thing that I think was really beautiful about it, and it's the tiniest detail, was the return slot in the door, right? And it went down into a little bucket that had a pillow on it.
Oh my God!
And I always remember so that the video hit the pillow and not a bucket, and I just thought, I think back on that, and there's something so adorable about an old pillow that caught the movies that you watched. But yeah, you know, the smell of that place and the popcorn and everything, and you know, the new release section, the weeklies, and going to the different areas, and yeah.
So Freshwater, it's in Sydney. Whereabouts in Sydney did you grow up?
It's Freshwater. It used to be called Harbord, and then the name got changed to Freshwater. It's always been Freshwater Beach.
Yeah.
And it's just north of Manly. So one beach north of Manly, and the northern beaches there. My dad grew up there, and when he met my mum in England, my mum was originally English. They came back here, and Dad was like, they moved to a couple of places, but then
pretty different from England.
Yeah, and then when Mum was pregnant with me, it was kind of coming into the summer, and they were. It was a bit warm where they were, and she was like, I'd rather be giving birth near the beach. He goes, I got the spot. This is where we should. Oh, wow. This is where we should have him. And so yeah, I love it. My sisters live there with their families and stuff now. So. Did
you go with your sisters to the video store? Would you like pick stuff out for each
other?
Yeah,
we had fun. Yeah. Used to see my sisters. They used to see them like every other weekend, and so we'd always have a film kind of night or something like that. But yeah, we'd always go around, and I remember them showing me some movies. They're a bit older than me, so I remember being a bit young to see Donnie Darko.
Oh wow!
I think it had like maybe just come out, and we were watching it, and I was like, "Whoa, this is pretty intense."
Did it scare you off, or were you just like, "Okay, I'm in a whole new fucking world"?
No, I wanted to be old like my sisters, you know, like
yeah.
I wasn't scared. I had to watch it again when I was older. I was like, oh, there's a few things that went over my head.
You have to have some kind of understanding of like advanced mathematics, I think, to get to a certain point with that film.
Yeah, it was funny watching it again and having these like recessed memories come back. But yeah, stuff like that was really awesome. Wayne's World was a favourite of mine as a kid because of my sisters, and they loved it. So like movies like that were kind of my early favourite films. Yeah. Wayne's World probably one of my favourite films.
Well,
early.
I'll tell you this, Wayne's World, top 5 favourite movie of me.
It's
all
amazing,
time.
Amazing
all
film.
time, Mike Myers is my greatest hero. I love him.
Yeah, he's great.
Well, I will have some bad news for you. You do have to relinquish your citizenship to that video store to sign up here. Are you willing to do so?
Unfortunately, Civic Video in Harbord Freshwater is no longer, so I don't think that's a worry.
Okay, well, I'm going to whip up your cards, and while I do that, why don't you go make some picks. Be your first member, 001.
Fantastic.
I'm going to put your photo in there. Just gonna cut it off from this. Get it in. There we go.
Oh, perfect.
Perfect size, perfect fit. There you go. And you will witness the first time I've ever used a laminator. Really, this is the reason I want to come into this store, is to really just have great access to a freaking laminator.
I don't think I've ever used a laminator in my life, so it's a first for both of us, mate.
Here we go, let's see if it works. If it doesn't,
All
you
right.
won't have to do it. All right, here we go. It's going.
Perfect.
New release.
All right, well, there's a new member special that we have, the Rental as Anything combo, I like to call it. You get 1 new release,
Yep.
3 weeklies, plus I'll even give you a bonus stuff pick of my own. Think of me as your cinematic sommelier.
Ah, fantastic.
I'll pick something, I'll use my mind, I'll use all my intuitions and my extreme empathy to figure out the perfect recommendation for you.
I'm really excited.
So what is your new release pick?
My new release pick is Banshees of Inisherin.
Drama.
When was that? Last year, I think it came out.
Yeah.
I got a thing with films. I think there's such things as perfect movies, and
What do you think a perfect movie is?
Well, that's it. It's kind of everyone doing their job perfectly in that film, and also just the whole movie being a perfect movie. It might not be your favorite movie. It doesn't have to be your favorite movie, but it can be a perfect movie. And I think Banshees was really that. When I watched it, I mean, obviously Martin Madonna, his writing and directing is amazing, and obviously all the acting was unbelievable. But I think the production design was amazing. I think the cinematography was beautiful. I thought costume was great. I thought locations were good. I thought art department was great. Like I just every bit of that film I thought was absolutely perfect, and it took me on a really beautiful journey, and it had all the bits of it, you know, that you'd expect from one of his films, but it just had so much heart and a really great message, and I thought the allegories were great. I just every bit of it. It's probably my favourite movie of the past couple of years, actually. And I saw it in the cinemas, and it was just, I didn't want it to end. It was one of those films that I didn't want it to end. And yeah, I love being in the cinema going, oh, it's going to end soon, and I don't want it to end soon. And that was a film like that. And still up to the end, I was still like, oh, I don't know. I still don't know what was going to happen exactly, or if we were going to have another death, or you didn't know who they were going to choose, who was going to choose to die, or whatever was going to happen. So yeah, I thought that was a brilliant film from last year, and probably one of my favourites of the past few years for sure.
Yeah, I think it's such a wonderful film. I'm right there with you. I think that I love the way you call it perfect film, and it is because. Well, I think one of the things that helps achieve that perfection is that it's almost, like the parts are great, but it's almost more than the sum of its parts as well. Like there is that little special bit of alchemy that kind of brings it together. And I think you're right, it's like that kind of like allegorical fable quality to it as well. Like it feels like a story that you would have been growing up with, or a story that you've heard before, but it's something new, and it's something that's so like that transportive nature of film as well, where you're like, oh
Absolutely.
my God, I feel cold because I'm out here in like the Irish hills, I'm in the moors, I'm seeing these freaking donkeys and stuff, I can smell the freaking donkey.
Yeah,
like you're there.
It did, and it felt like, I think, fable and allegory and stuff like that, it really felt like it was so realistic and real, and you felt you were there, but you also felt like it was another little world.
Yes, absolutely.
That I don't know.
Fairy tale quality.
Yeah, a fairy tale quality to it, which at least when I think of those type of fairy tales when I was a kid, and the idea of going in the forest and peering through it, I knew it was fantastical, but I still felt it was possible.
Yeah.
And I think that's Banshees really just perfectly towed that line of, is this a fairy tale? And if it is, I believe it. And I can be in that fairy tale, and so there was just something so special about that film, I thought. As I said, every bit of it, absolutely brilliant, and obviously funny in bits, and deathly heartbreaking in others. It's hard to like talk about it if people haven't seen the film, but there's some really beautifully tragic moments that rip your heart out, and you're crying while smiling at the same time, and there's something really special about films that can do all the things. And I think Banshees is able to do all the things. That's why it's a great movie.
And also, just two fantastic, magnificent lead performances.
Oh, yeah, brilliant.
And to see Brendan Gleeson, Colin Farrell come back together with McDonough after In Bruges, another fantastic film. And it's almost like that dynamic has been completely played with. And seeing Colin Farrell in this, like the last 10 years of his career has been...
He's a genius.
He's doing something so fresh, I think.
Yeah, everything he does is exciting. I think, as you say, the past... I mean, a lot of his career, but yeah, maybe there's 15 years we've had of just this absolute joy to see him make such interesting choices and every time you see what he's doing, you're like, oh, that's interesting. I can't wait to see that.
And maybe the most interesting stuff he's doing is with his eyebrows.
Yeah.
They are some of the most fucking expressive worms I've ever seen on film.
Yeah, he's got an amazing quality of being just so devilishly handsome and charismatic and cool, and then so believable in everything. And so you're still able to connect to him, even though he has this amazing kind of quality of like, wow, you're the coolest guy you're one of the coolest people in the world, but you still think you can have a beer with him, and I'm sure you could, and you know, he's got that quality which is a real, I don't know, it's a bit of a fairy dust kind of quality that you can't manufacture or you either kind of got it or not, and Colin seems like that kind of guy.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially like he's got this weird movie star quality where he's like, obviously the guy's very handsome, he's hot, we can't deny it, it cannot be denied, the guy's hot. But then all the stuff he's been doing recently, it is almost sweeping that movie star quality away and embracing something so odd, weird, eclectic, and it's almost like the performances themselves are egoless, even though there's like, obviously there's some ego in being like a huge, fantastic actor, but the performances themselves are free of ego.
Yeah, he's just picking great films. He's like, this is going to be a good movie. And this is going to be a fun, you can see him having fun. Like, I think that's another thing with films is that you can see when they're enjoyable to make. I think no matter what the subject of the film is, that kind of comes through in the pulse, in the literal blood pumping through people on the screen, and if it's fun to make, the attention to details there, and people, and as I say about people doing their job really well, that's everyone doing their job really well. There's not a bit that's missed, and you can tell there's just something that comes through the screen in terms of people enjoyed this and really worked hard and wanted to make a great film and loved the process of it. And you know, making films is really, really fun. It's a great job, and it's really a fun job. It's stressful and it's chaotic and it's crazy, and sometimes you're tearing your hair out, but we all come back to it because we can't get enough of doing it because it's so much fun, and you kind of see that come through the screen that way, and you can see Colin having fun in the movies he's making, and I think that's a really, I'm so happy for him, you know.
We're happy for you, Colin.
So
if you're
happy
out
for
there
him.
listening, we're so happy for you.
You're the coolest, man.
Yeah, we think you're cool, man.
Yeah. And then the other performances are obviously Brendan Gleeson, but is it Kelly Condon that plays his sister?
Oh, Kerry Condon.
Kerry Condon. Yeah. She was maybe my favourite character, and my favourite performance of the movie was her. And right behind her was probably Barry Keoghan.
Yeah, and then right up the old crone lady.
Exactly, she was great.
I love that old crone lady.
She was great. But there was something about, Kerry's performance as his sister, and that kind of the heartbreak of her being trapped on that, in Inner Sharon, and trying to get out, and the responsibilities of being who she was in that village. And I don't know, I thought, for me, that was maybe my favourite character and performance of the film, and then Barry's performance was just utterly heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking.
Like, he was amazing. He's an amazing actor, that guy.
I would say, like, man, it kind of resonated with me, that thought of connecting with those two characters, especially the Kerry Condon character. I think as Australians, especially Australians that are in like creative field, a lot of the time you feel like you're on the other side of the world of where your dreams are. Yeah. And I feel like that's just a small little microcosm of capturing that feeling. And I'm like, yeah, fuck. Yeah. That's me.
That character's me. Exactly. And seeing her get on the boat and stuff like that. And yeah, as I said, every bit of that movie was beautiful and heartbreaking and heartwarming and funny and all the things. It hit you with so many emotions at once in so many parts of that film, that you were kind of, I remember walking out and being a little I didn't know what I felt.
Because it's
Right?
like that warm melancholy.
Exactly,
You know?
exactly. I just knew I was really glad I saw it, and I was
Yeah.
really happy that it was a film that existed now.
Have you seen it since?
I haven't seen it since. I only saw this in it, but I will watch it again for sure.
We've got the DVD to watch now.
I'm going to rent it off you guys.
Absolutely.
This is what I'm doing now. It's my new release.
Weekly.
All right, let's go to your next rental.
Yep.
Going to the weekly hires.
My weekly hire, yeah. My first weekly hire will be The Year of Living Dangerously, directed by Peter Weir.
Drama.
The great Peter Weir.
The great Peter Weir. Now, I could have picked any Peter Weir film. Every one of his films is absolutely brilliant, and he's
Absolutely.
probably one of my favourite filmmakers ever. I don't
He's
know.
obsessed with water.
I just, it really, yeah. He likes-
Every one of his movies has something about water
There's
in
some
them.
water in there, yeah. I mean, he did a whole one on the ocean, so he must really like it.
Truman Show, it's an obsessive water movie.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
There was obviously Truman Show, which is brilliant, and kind of, I remember first seeing that when I was younger, and it really was such a high concept. It was probably the first time my brain could get around to such a high concept for a film.
It's also in that Donnie Darko Millennium Mindfuck type hero genre.
Where is reality and what are we doing here? And then obviously Master and Commander, I think, is amazing. Gallipoli, brilliant.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Dead Poets, obviously. But the other film I would have chosen if it wasn't for this one would have been Witness with Harrison Ford. And that movie has
John Book, the character's name.
John Book, yeah. It's a fantastic film, and there's real moments in that film that are akin to Barry Lyndon in terms of the cinematography involved, where he does just set up paintings and films them in a way. Like there's these qualities of these shots are really painting-esque and really amazing, and then obviously the story is classic and great, and Harrison Ford's amazing. But I digress. Peter Weir, you're an absolute legend, and I think you're the best. The Year of Living Dangerously.
Why is this the one that you picked over all the others?
There's something about this film that has a huge sweeping romance to it, but is also inside a really consequential and interesting historical setting. History, I think, is really interesting, and I'm always kind of drawn to that. In most things.
Yeah.
And so that is another really interesting part, this kind of consequential thing. And then on top of that, the story and the way it's told and the characters involved are so true. I believe every one of them wholly as people. I think everyone is so crafted in that way. I think Mel Gibson is utterly captivating in that film, and you're so invested in his character and him, and then Sigourney Weaver as well. And then on top of all of that, you've got Linda Hunt playing Billy. And she won the Oscar for it. She won Best Supporting Actress for it, playing a male character. And she is the heart and soul of that film. And I think that's a really amazing juggling act, is to have a heart and soul of a film and a story, and then have orbiting that, this amazing romance, and then orbiting that, and then this is all orbiting a giant giant political kind of coup that's happening in Jakarta. It's so consequential and something that we don't really know much about, actually. This kind of, in terms of history, it's not a hugely documented thing, I think, in the West of this period of that country's history. And I mean, I think Indonesia in general, it's the fourth most populous country in the world or something like that. There's 250 million people there, but it doesn't get I don't think it's as acknowledged for how important it is a place, and so to have all that existing around that was so amazing, and you got to love the kind of two people falling in love in pouring rain.
Absolutely, that's the water obsession right
there.
It's
the water obsession there when they go and they have that drink and then it starts belting down with rain, and it's amazing. And then there's another bit where she comes and finds him in the office, and it's been raining, and she just kind of grabs him, and they have this amazing kiss. And every bit of that film is great. Great. Every bit of that film, I remember, just emotionally, it really struck me as watching it. And it's a film that a film that inspires me. I would love to make a film like that.
Yeah.
I would love to make a film like that.
I think as well, it's like this great, like it's one of the great journalism films as well. Great like journalism films.
Yeah.
And there's like a real history of those
Absolutely.
like embedded overseas journalism films. And I think with this one, what it captures like that danger and the personal story within the greater context of history as well. But that Linda Hunt performance.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable.
I mean, it's hard to, when you talk about this movie, it's hard to talk about anything else but that performance because
Truly.
it happened at the one point in history where it could ever happen, where there was the right person to play this character, and the right person to play that character is someone that can't play that character now. And it's a woman playing a cisgender man, Chinese man,
Chinese
with
Australian man.
dwarfism, and she's an American woman.
And
it's mesmerizing.
And she is Billy.
She's Billy.
Like it's I mean, it's just the kind of the magic of acting in that way. And it's so rare to
transformative acting.
Yeah,
like it's rare.
And for such a pivotal character, for those decisions to be made, for Peter Weir to make that decision, for Linda Hunt to have the courage to do it, and to be like, yeah, I can do this, and put in that performance, and it's great. I mean, it's you know, if you haven't seen it, there's a moment in towards the end of it where obviously Mel's got Billy, and it broke my heart. Broke my heart.
Yeah.
And also Billy as a character is this kind of centre ground of the film, this moral centre ground, but there's no saintliness, there's no kind of pomposity or pretension to this character. There's a real desire to go out and you see this kind of journey of that character, which I think in another story or another director's hands, they could have just left them there as a character. But you see their journey, like they really go on a journey themselves, and that's really interesting when they are the rock and the other people are going on the journey as well. I don't know.
And it's like, how do you ground that performance?
Yeah.
It's like we said before, it's alchemy. There's something about it where Peter Weir is like such a wizard where he was able to go, yeah, this is a performance that grounds the movie.
Yeah.
And it is something that is undescribable. And I've been doing this series recently where I've been lucky enough to interview a lot of like the great Australian filmmakers. And without fail, when I asked them like, who is a filmmaker that you admire? Without fail, the first name out of everyone's mouth is Peter Weir.
Yeah, he's got the runs on the board. He's a genius. He knows what to do. And also, The Year of Living Dangerously, it's exciting. It's an exciting film.
I mean, just the title alone.
Yeah, exactly. and you sense the excitement of that lifestyle, of living there, of being those expats, and just the excitement of the chase and being in a dangerous place and getting through those dangers and running right up to them and going past them. And love that movie. Absolutely love it.
You've worked with Mel Gibson on HACKSAW RIDGE.
Yeah, I got to work with Mel.
Did you ever talk to him about this movie?
No, I didn't actually. I didn't really talk that much about his previous stuff. He'd tell us a couple of funny stories of like doing a few of them and stuff like that. But no, I didn't talk to him about this. Maybe next time I talk to him, I'll ask him about it.
What was it like working with him? Because he's like such an intense actor, director, but also like one of the undeniable movie stars.
Yeah, I was terribly nervous when I got the job. Just realizing you're going to work with someone who's one of the best ever to do it. But then the moment you meet him, he just dissipates all that because he's such a lovely man.
Yeah.
And he's such an excited man. He loves making movies. He loves telling stories. And his excitement and it's weird. I thought I'd be intimidated and be really scared, but he has some magical quality as a person that really allows you he just gives you confidence in buckets in this amazing way that, as I said, I thought I was worried I would freeze and not be able to communicate or not be able to do anything, but there's something about Mel where he just trusts you and suddenly imbues this confidence in you that I was 10 feet tall making that film because of him and the
They had
way
to shrink you in CGI later.
Yeah, they had to. I was too big. I put on too much muscle for that. But no, just this his want for you to have fun and to bring ideas. All the great directors that I've worked with, Mel, Baz, Roger, who we're going to talk about, they're great leaders, and great leaders allow people to do their job to their highest level. They're allowing people to be amazing at their job, from everyone down. That's not just that is everyone. And you know, someone from costume department would always feel safe in the middle of the shoot to come up and be like, Mel, there's something wrong with that needs to change. And Mel would be like, oh, great, I'm so glad you're on it. Please go. Oh, that's, you know, that kind of, you didn't feel like you couldn't say anything.
The trust and collaboration.
Yeah, he was like, please come, tell me how to make it better. We're all here to make it better. Like, tell me how to make this better, please.
Far out.
And that was really exciting. And as I said, it was like, oh, me? He's like, you can do this. Like, you're amazing. And obviously in more, you know, eloquent kind of ways and stuff like that. But that was the feeling I got of him kind of working with him that way. Was just, oh wow, like I can do this, and he thinks I can do this. I might be able to do this, and so yeah, I can't say I had just the most amazing time working him and getting to know him, and we spent some time together doing the press tour and stuff like that. So yeah, really special guy, really special person.
It's so interesting because, like, when you think about his films first as an actor, like working with Peter Weir, Gallipoli, The Year of Living Dangerously, I think those films definitely inform what he becomes as a director for sure. Especially, I would say, Year of Living Dangerously, because there's a quality to his films as a filmmaker where it's almost like he's making freaking Apocalypse Now every time. And then to hear that the actual nature of making them is nurturing collaborative creativity.
Fun. As I say, there's moments of stress on films, absolutely, and you know, making HACKSAW RIDGE is a very intense movie. It's about every day there's very few soft days on that film. Most days are really kind of intense.
I mean, your first second on the film, you get a knife stabbed into your foot.
Exactly. But the life and the laughs that happened all through there, and he taught me things in the middle of making a film. So I remember doing a scene, and he kind of gave me some direction. He was like, that was perfect, but say it while looking there, and then say that line, and then look at him. And I was like, he's like, but do it exactly the same, but just do that. And I was like, okay. And then so I did that, and you just hear him go, yes, and then go, cut. He goes, come over here, and he came over and showed me on the monitor. He goes, play that one before. And he plays the one before. He goes, see, this is really good. This is amazing. But I'll play the next one. And he goes, this one is better.
Wow.
Because he taught me the technical part. He was going, technically, this is a little technical thing. He's like, emotionally it was really good, but here's a little technical thing that really makes it pop. And to take time out of the day of setting up to teach you that and to show you that, I think it was just his love of film, and as I said, his love of trying to help people, and I don't know, his excitement for it. I don't know, for someone to do that for me and for him to do that, it was really, really awesome.
How did that experience change you as an actor or an artist?
I became a bit more aware of those bits of it. I mean, you're learning all the time, and I was maybe like 25, and to be on a set of that kind of caliber, I hadn't worked on that kind of caliber in that way, and so it made me a bit more, I guess, thinking of films, or if there's ever a choice between two. I remember sitting going, oh, okay, now I know how to pick them. If I don't know how to choose one, I'll be like, oh, which set am I going to be sitting on wishing I was on the other one? Or which set am I going to be sitting on wishing I wasn't doing? You know, what I learned from it, I was like, now that's what I look for now. Like, how much can I learn from these? And what can I get from them and stuff like that? Not in a too selfish way, but just in a personal way. In terms of changing me as an artist, I don't know. He made me confident. He gave me confidence. And a next level of confidence that I didn't possess.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful. That's The Year of Living Dangerously.
Yeah, Year of Living Dangerously, and a bit of HACKSAW RIDGE dribble. But Year of Living Dangerously, amazing movie. Go fall in love with that film, and go fall in love with every part of it. Yeah.
Your next film is one I'm very excited to talk about.
My next film is The Lives of Others.
The Lives of Others by Florian Henkel von Donnerschmark.
That's it.
Yeah.
The Lives of Others. It's a brilliant film. When I finished watching that movie, I sat there and went, I think that's the best film I've ever seen in my life.
When did you see it?
I saw it kind of recently, actually. But I've spent a bit of time in Berlin. I've got friends there, and I've done a little bit of work there. And so over the years, I've spent time there, and it fascinates me as a place. And so does kind of East-West Berlin. For some reason, I'm really interested in it.
Yeah.
How two worlds can live next to each other. And whatever it is about it, I'm just fascinated by it. And so then when my mate kind of recommended this film to me, and then I got a chance to watch it, and I was just so struck by every bit about it. And as I said, I got to the end of it, and I just thought that, I don't know if I've ever seen a better movie than that.
And it really puts you in that point in history, because it's set across a few years in 1980s,
kind of early
East
80s,
Berlin.
mid-80s kind of thing. Mid-80s, I think it is.
Mid-80s, and it's kind of got a little bit of a saga, like it goes over a few years.
Yes.
And it is from the perspective mostly of a Stasi agent,
Yes.
an undercover, I guess the word you would use is
surveillance
monitor,
man.
surveillance guy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what Stasi people were. It was all about monitoring and surveillance and stuff. So yeah,
complete surveillance of the entire population.
Yes, exactly.
Knowing everything about everybody. And it immerses you in that perspective, which at that time, it's pretty controversial to go, I guess, to humanize a character like that after the walls come down, after there's reunification. And I was reading about it. At this time, we had Goodbye Lenin, which is a comedy that deals with a lot of the same stuff, but from the perspective of now. It's about a woman who comes out of a coma and doesn't know that the wall has come down and that Germany and Berlin have reunified.
Yeah.
And this was the first serious film to deal with that subject matter.
Yeah, and in a way of addressing the absolute complete invasion and absolute trashing of any type of privacy in your life. And I think that's what this film does in such an amazing way, of just the possibility of it and how it happened, and the inability to trust anyone in it. And then also showing the loneliness of existing in that place and being that guy. There's something about that main character that is so terribly lonely, and that is just, as you say, it humanized him, and that was, I think, a controversial part of it, was that there were some people that did really bad stuff doing this, but I don't know, there's something I think really brave about humanizing someone like that. And then also another film where every bit of it is perfect from a visual perspective. From a production designer, you're completely immersed in this world. You're completely there.
It feels so authentic.
It feels so authentic. And so time traveling to there, you just feel it. At times it feels like a documentary. At times it feels like you're watching true lives. And the suspension of disbelief is completely there. So the twists and turns of it as well, coming at the end, and I think the ending is one of the most beautiful endings of a film, after heartbreaking moments leading up to that, and frustration and annoyance of this world that they were living in. But then the ending for me was just absolutely beautiful. And so there's something about it that was just mesmerizing for me. That film, mesmerizing. I was completely taken in by it in a way that films should, but I don't know, this was on another level for me, this film. Yeah.
I remember seeing it for the first time. I saw it in cinemas. I would have been like maybe 15 when it came out. 2006? I think 2007 here. So I remember seeing the Margaret and David review where they were like, this is the best. It had already won Best Foreign Language Film at the Oscars by the time it came out here. And it was a bit of a surprise that it won.
Yeah, right.
And
not anymore.
Not anymore. Now it's like
it's
so known. And I remember my mum had seen it and she was like, I got to take you to go see this. At that point in time, I was already like a budding cinephile. I was watching all the Oscar nominees anyway. I went to go see it. I just remember being like it's such a wonderful way to experience this point in history because it is so immersive and it is so like the perspectives I think are really on point, and especially when it's about a film that is literally about perspective. Like it's about seeing the lives of others through the eyes of someone who lives their life as a fucking observer.
Yeah.
Like there's something about that where it just really, really nails it. And I would put it in the same conversation as The Conversation, another film that captures that same loneliness of being the observer. And I think this one's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Really beautiful.
Yeah, again, every performance is brilliant. The main writer, he's so captivating as an actor. I mean, the main Stasi officer.
Yeah.
He's the kind of person where I was just reading a bit about him because he's kind of like...
That is Ulrich Muir.
Yeah, and I think he passed away...
Not long after the film.
Not long after
the year
film,
after.
yeah. And I was thinking about... Because when I was thinking about this the other day, I was sitting there going, he would have been a brilliant Hans Lander in Inglourious Basterds.
It almost
if it
feels
wasn't
like,
Christoph Waltz, you're like, oh, that's the maybe, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Quentin saw that movie and like there was elements of that character
sparked something
that sparked something in him, in that kind of his wiliness, his knowledge of what is going to trigger people, because there's
interrogation
the interrogation
scenes.
parts of it, the his ability to be a quote unquote grey man or like a forgettable person, his ability to walk through the world
unnoticed.
Which is tragic, unnoticed, which is tragic, but also what made him so good at it. It's a brilliant performance, and yeah, the writer and the actress, their relationship is beautiful, and it's just there's so many tragic bits in it, but it's not all tragic. I don't know.
That's it, and it's got this little hopeful kind of
some
coda
little
at
kernel
the end.
in it, right? Yeah, that people can be good.
Yeah,
there's something there for people to come to and to latch on, but meanwhile you're like, people are also awful. Yeah. There's the characters in there you're just like, you're an asshole.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the guy that gets him to do the surveillance, Hempf or something, I think his name is, and he's just this pig of a man.
Yeah, real rat.
A real pig of a bloke. And you're just like, you're
a
awful.
Real porky bastard.
You're awful. There's a great bit right at the end when the writer sees him in the lobby of the theatre, and he says to him, you know, have a little chat, and the writer says to him, I can't believe you guys ran a country.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great stinging rebuke of these people. It's like, how did you guys run a bloody country? You guys are awful and useless. You know, like, I think I was like, kind of, I don't know, there was good bits, but in that, but yeah, unbelievable.
And it is the directorial debut. Isn't that insane?
Yeah, and he like wrote it. He was only like 16 when the wall came down or something like that, and he did it all. And his directorial debut, a movie like that. Jeez.
One of the most impressive, I would say, one of the most impressive directorial debuts. Great film. The Lives of Others.
The Lives of Others, must watch. Absolute must watch.
It's a. I think one of the. If you're someone that maybe has not taken that leap into international foreign language cinema, into European film,
exactly.
I think it is like a really great gateway film.
For sure. Exactly. To see, how good a story can be. And at the end of the bottom line of that movie, it's an unbelievable story. The script and the story is just perfect. There's not one bit of it you take out. There's not anything you put in. There's not one bit of that script or that whole film that is surplus to requirements.
All right, let's get into your final pick.
Yeah.
No Way Out.
Thriller.
No Way Out, directed by Roger Donaldson. I think it's like 1987.
Spot on.
And it is one of Kevin Costner's, I think, like his first major leading role in a film, actually. I think Untouchables might have come out a little bit later that year, or maybe next year.
Maybe even just before, but still
right
there's an
around that
ensemble
time.
quality to it.
Yeah, but so Kevin Costner wasn't Kevin Costner. This was his like first kind of thing, and he is amazing in this film.
Yeah.
Now, I always say this about this movie. I am really jealous and excited for people to see it for the first time. It's got great twists and turns and this and that, and the whole time you're like, what's going on? Is it there? And it goes in all these different directions, and it's such an exciting film, and like sexy and great and funny in parts, and just some really great characters, some really great chase scenes, some supreme tension. And just an all-around great, fun film.
Yeah, I will admit to you, my shame is I had never seen this film before.
I can't believe I've stumped you then.
Until this moment, I have this special power where if I see the DVD in front of me, I can place my hand on it, and within seconds, I can absorb the movie.
Yes.
I absorbed the movie in its entirety. In probably 4 seconds, it took me to get through it. And I'll admit it, in those 4 seconds, there would have been moments where I was absorbed in complete... it's got erotic moments.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
in your presence when the movie came across me, there would have been moments, maybe a fraction of a second where I was turned on. Because this film has got it all. I guess, how would we describe this film? It's kind of like in that era of Cold War.
Spy, espionage.
It's a remake of a movie called The Big Clock.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, from the 1940s. Australian filmmaker... Mia Farrow's father was the director of it.
I had no idea.
Great film as well. I'd seen The Big Clock before,
Right.
but that is not a military thing.
No,
the military is the new invention of this film.
So basically, Kevin Costner is in the Navy, but he's based in Washington. I mean, he does go on a ship in one bit of it, but he.
He's like a new hot star in the Navy.
He's a star of the Navy. He's a bit of he's a hero. He's done some heroic stuff. He comes back in.
He's a maverick, if you will.
Yeah, but really good boy. Good American lad.
That only Kevin Costner can play.
Yeah, in a really nice way. He's nice, crisp, white uniform.
Yeah.
And he's based in Washington, and Gene Hackman plays the Secretary of Defense. And he can see Kevin Costner as being a hand, kind of helping him get around what he needs to navigate in terms of the Washington Circle and stuff like that. Meanwhile, Kevin Costner falls in love with Sean Young. They have this whirlwind romance, and they fall in love, and it's amazing. And then Sean passes away. And that happens it's a bit of a shock in the film. It happens quite early.
Yeah.
Not early, but you're like, oh, whoa. And then the movie takes off.
Absolutely. And I think a difference is in The Big Clock, that's where the movie starts.
Right.
Is that exact point.
Bit, right, where I think No Way Out does a really good job in leading us down the garden path of what type of film is this going to be. And then suddenly you're like, oh, it's this film. And it's just full throttle. I have a real soft spot for films where someone knows too much.
Yeah.
And they maybe don't know what they know, but they know too much, and someone thinks they know too much. And I've got a real soft spot for films like that. 3 Days of Condor, The Firm, stuff like that. And No Way Out's right in that world of someone knowing too much and having the walls close in on them a bit.
Yeah.
Having the walls, Kevin Costner, the walls are closing in. And he's a bit of a pawn in this game.
He's a pawn, and he's trying to find his agency within it. And I think there's something that's truly so fucking thrilling about this, where just on the paper level of this film, the idea of someone investigating a murder and all the clues are pointing back at them is that's a nightmare scenario.
Absolutely.
People wake up in the middle of the night oh my god, I'm having a panic attack. I dreamt that I was a detective trying to solve a murder, and all the clues point back to me. And he plays it so swiftly. There's
brilliant.
something about it.
It's brilliant. Yeah, he's basically put in charge of investigating Sean Young's murder, and in the process of that, he realizes that they're framing him for it, or they're trying to frame him for it. And then so that's the whole thing. Meanwhile, there's a whole Russian spy element to the film.
They're framing someone as a Russian spy.
That is happening, that is giving the pretense for them to go on this murder investigation using this kind of, mythical Russian spy that they think has been running around the Pentagon for a while, right? So you've got the puzzle wrapped up in the enigma, and on top of that, and it all just kind of swirling around, and the tension of it builds and builds and builds and builds and builds, and it just keeps going as a film. It doesn't really let you down. And as you say, it's another film with all the bits. There's a beautiful, like, they fall in love. There's some sexy bits.
Yeah.
There's some running. There's some bits on a Navy ship where Kevin Costner saves some guy's life in the high seas.
Speaking of De Palma, like the Untouchables, even like a train chase scene, like in Carlito's Way.
Yeah, exactly. There's that. There's a whole. What about the big kind of running around the Pentagon? There's a whole bit where they're trying to find someone inside the Pentagon. They're locking down the Pentagon, and these people are going from door to door in the Pentagon, and Kevin's got to get around and over here, and it's just great.
And beautifully directed by wonderful Australian New Zealand journeyman filmmaker Roger Donaldson.
Roger Donaldson, who I had the pleasure of making a film with. I did a film called November Man. Opposite our James Bond, Mr. Pierce Brosnan, which was an absolute thrill.
It's almost like you're the Kevin Costner to his Gene Hackman as well.
I hope I will take that compliment. I'll take that comparison any day of the week, mate. Thank you. But yeah, so I got to work with Roger, and when I got the job, I was talking to some friends, a really good friend of mine. Shout out to Liz Hanna, an amazing screenwriter. She wrote The Post, and is on doing amazing work over in America at the moment. Girl from Plainville. She wrote the one with what's Charlize Theron and Seth Rogen, where she's
of course,
which I loved. She did such a good job. Yeah, what's it called?
It's called Long Shot.
Amazing movie,
Great.
Liz.
I reckon that's one of the best rom-coms of the last few years.
It's
as well.
Amazing. So Liz Hanna, good friend of mine. We've been friends for years, and then when I got November Man, she was like, "Oh, yes, we have to watch No Way Out."
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I have no idea. She's like, "You're working with Roger on it. We have to watch this movie." So we sat down just before I went and watched it, and we watched it, and we both just like, she'd already seen it, I think, one time, and we just loved it. And then I got to go and work with Roger, and I was just so excited because he just crafted that movie so well. And yeah, it was amazing working with Roger. He's a really great guy. I loved working with him. If you're making another one, Roger, give me a call, man. I'd love to work with you again. But he was great. He told me some really. There's a funny scene at the start of No Way Out involving the limo when Kevin Costner and Sean Young are in the back of a limousine, and there's a limo driver, and he's got a good little cameo. And Roger I was like, what was the go with that? and if I remember the story correctly, Roger said that was the guy that picked him up from the airport when he was going to shoot the film in Washington.
Whoa. And
Roger's chatting to him, like, seen some funny stuff in the back of your limo. He's like, oh yeah. And like he was just a really fun guy, and Roger then was like, cast him in the movie. And then when the movie came out, I think Roger said that in this guy's like hometown, on the cinema, it had No Way Out starring this guy's name. and Kevin Costner kind of thing. And so that was a really cool story. I was like, that's a great story, Roger, of like casting the guy that picked you up from the airport. And because he had some funny stories.
Wow.
And a nice guy, and there's some funny bits in it. But yeah, so that was good. But Roger's great. Loved working with him. He was such a. I was like 23. I was quite young, and I was just kind of making a few more movies actually, and getting a bit more agency and being a kind of bit more in the lead of
the
these
next
films, the next level kind of thing. When I worked with Roger, and I learned a lot from working with him. It was great. We made November Man for not much money for an action movie like that, with no second unit. Now, if you know anything about making films and making action ones, it really helps to have a second unit to do all the fiddly, complicated action stuff. We were crashing cars and fight scenes and stuff.
Grisly movie as well.
Yeah, and so then doing that, watching Roger do that, and then also us doing the dramatic stuff in between it, and watching him make that was really, I was like, oh, okay, this is a bloke who really knows how to do this. And I remember we had one day where we kind of got everything. We kind of got everything within maybe 9 or 10 hours of the day, and I was like,
good day.
Oh, good day. What are we gonna? Have we done everything today? He's like, everything was on the page. Yeah, I think. Yeah. He's like, yeah, we've done it. I go, what are we doing now? He goes, well, mate, We've paid everyone to be here for 12 hours. We might as well get our money's worth. We'll find something to shoot. And we just
became second unit.
We found stuff to pick up and do. And I was like, oh, that's so great. And it was not so, he wasn't like, we're staying here cracking whips. He was like, guys, why don't we just make our life easier? I mean, no stress. Like, but we got to get that insert of that thing and we can do that. And
a few martini shots.
Yeah, we just did a couple of things and it was a nice kind of like leisurely way to kind of like finish a day. But I remember him being like, yeah, man, we're here to work, like, let's do it. And I realized, like, yeah, makes sense, absolutely. Good line.
Well, thank you for the gift of No Way Out. It's great to have it in my life.
Oh, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. And,
man, I can't wait to be the person showing it to someone else now.
Someone else, because then you get to watch it again. I showed it to someone else recently, actually.
Wow. You're spreading it.
Yeah, it was actually kind of recently when I watched it again, and it was with someone, and they were just like, oh, thank you so much for showing me that film. So I'm glad you liked it, and I'm glad you now got that and can give it on.
Well, this is it. This is me giving it on right now.
Fantastic.
Well, it is only fair that I give you a gift in return now, and you had such great picks. So it got me so excited cooking up, like, what can I give you as a recommendation? To the point I was also worried, like, have you seen like anything I could possibly recommend you? Because
there's millions of movies I haven't seen.
I think I did okay though. I think I've done okay, because your picks are all really interesting because there's something that ties them together. And when I was thinking about it, all of these films, there's like a high pressure, international intrigue, espionage, political thrillers with those personal stakes as well. And another thing that ties them all together, like really great actors, not just great performances, great actors.
Captivating
presences.
Yeah.
And a lot of them like great body of work as well, but there's something about these films that stick out in their body of work. And I was even thinking like, oh, well, you know, the odd one out here is kind of Banshees of Inisherin, until I started thinking about, no, that is also deep in the background is the Irish Civil War, and it's the personal story within that.
The allegory of two mates that are now, they're fighting, you know, and like, I'm watching it happen just over there and seeing that and you know, all these big giant things that are happening in these films are still people involved, right?
So I've actually, because you're our first customer at the new store, I have given you a little treat. I'm giving you 2 recommendations today.
Fantastic, thank you so much.
I would say both of them fit right in that context. The first film I'm going to give you is Missing, starring Jack Lemmon and Sissy Spacek.
Thriller.
Missing. I haven't seen Missing. What is it about?
So it is from the master of the political thriller, Costa Gavras, a Greek-French filmmaker. He made Z, The Confession, a bunch of other great films, but all in that political thriller genre. And he is the one that is known as the great of that genre. Up there with like Alan Pakula, people that made like, you know, All the President's Men, those kind of films. But this film is based on a true story. It's set in Chile during the coup of Pinochet. And in the story is Sissy Spacek and her husband are like journalists. They're like radical leftists that are living embedded in Chile. The husband goes missing, and Jack Lemmon plays that man's father, who's like an older Republican conservative type man.
I've heard of this story.
And he comes with Sissy Spacek and he kind of blames her for her son going missing. And he comes to Chile to try and find him. And it's an experience that changes him. Like he goes on the journey of seeing like, oh, what is life really like out there under a dictatorship, under like this, you know, a fascist regime in its uprising. And it's fascinating. I believe it won Best Screenplay at the Academy Awards as well for Costa Gavras' screenplay.
Amazing.
But there's something about this that just, I think it ticked all those boxes for you.
That
completely clicked. And I just think...
He knows too much.
He knows too much. You know? Or they don't know anything and they're trying to find out.
Don't know what we know.
They don't know what they know.
Yeah.
And I thought, I could just see you really like digging into this one. It's been hard to find. I literally bought this Blu-ray 2 weeks ago.
Amazing.
That's how we got the prop here today.
Oh, that's so good.
Because I had to see it. Yeah.
All right, can't wait to watch it.
And pick number 2, this came off the back of Banshees of Inisherin, just really thinking about that film again. And this is a film directed by Carol Reed in his lead up to his iconic The Third Man.
Wow.
It's Odd Man Out, starring James Mason.
Crime.
Unbelievable.
And this is...
Talk about captivating, James Mason, right?
Absolutely. And I think this might be... I mean, for me, this is his best performance.
I love it already.
So this is from 1947. It's set in an anonymous city, but it's unnamed Belfast. Like, it's clearly Belfast the whole time. And he plays a man on the run, and he's part of an organization. It's the IRA. And he is basically bleeding out as the whole city is searching for him. And I expected this film to be political in its nature. Like, it reads like a political noir thriller of the era. But what I didn't expect when I came to it is it's quite sprawling, but in his existentiality of it all.
Right.
Like, it's a really existential film. It's really like in the mind of James Mason as being a man on the run.
Oh, I love that idea of that existential, the existentiality of it, and these two as well. And I guess another thing with No Way Out, I guess another theme of all these films of mine that I've chosen of Year of Living Dangerously, of that, and it's something I think that what made John le Carre such a great storyteller was his ability to have the real individual consequences for individuals of giant isms, right?
Yeah.
That all these big kind of worldwide events are just made up of people, and they're all being used by each other, and they're all being used by the system. And I think these two are very similar like that. These individual consequences of these bigger pressures kind of playing down on them.
It's like being the individual in the part of an international situation.
Exactly,
almost.
and they're always the ones that lose. It's never going to be the bigger idea of it, or they're always just going to be these kind of faithless kind of behemoths that just keep rolling on and hoover up these people, and these lives get destroyed and turned, and they don't become their lives anymore. They're just these little bits in it that get discarded. And these seem like two movies that really fit that bill as well.
I hope so. I
like when you talk about that existentialism of it. Yeah.
And that's the thing that really surprised me about that film.
What's the point, you know? Why are we doing, like Clive Owen at the end of Bourne. Yeah. Do you even know why you're here? Do you even know why you're supposed to kill me?
Yeah.
And then Matt says to Edgar Ramirez, do you know why you're supposed to kill me? Look at what they make you give. It's great. People just getting chewed up and spit out. Yeah. Oh, great films. I can't wait to watch them. Thank you.
I'm so excited for you to watch them, and you'll have to let us know if you like them.
I will.
And if you don't like them, I will take it as criticism. I will take it as personal criticism.
They are right up my alley.
I will commit harakiri if you don't like them.
Oh no,
that is my code.
I don't think you're in any worry of that.
I feel safe today.
These are pretty good people making them, so I'm sure they're great.
Well, Luke, thank you for being our first customer at the newly refurbished To The Video. Here are your rentals. Here's your card.
Thank you very much.
And come back anytime.
I will be back. We're going to have to maybe watch some of these movies together, mate.
Absolutely. We can put them on the TV up here in the store.
That'd be great.
Is there anything you're working on at the moment? I know you've got Mercy Road.
Yeah.
It's just kind of come out online.
Yeah, that's on Apple TV, I believe. That was a film I did... that was like one of the hardest things I've done in my life.
I mean, it's basically just you on screen the whole time.
Yeah, it's me having a nervous breakdown in a car for 86 minutes.
Yeah, Sin City as well is the other kind of thing that it kind of feels like.
It's like dark and it's a bit weird, and you're not quite sure. Everyone that's seen it has a different idea of what happens. Yeah. Which I think was really cool. And there's this kind of like...
That's the Donnie Darko influence coming in for you.
Yeah, there's this... I mean, John Curran, the director, did an amazing job.
Fantastic filmmaker as well.
Really great filmmaker and really the perfect guy to help guide me through that film. It's really intense. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say it's a holiday of the world. It's an intense movie, but it's got just 86 minutes of just ba 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 ba, and it doesn't stop. And I really had it was such a
it's a challenge.
It's such a challenge to make that film. So for me, it's like hard for me to watch it. I kind of got maybe 10 minutes into it, and then I was like, ugh. Yeah. But
it must be confronting, just going like, oh, that's just me on screen.
Yeah, it was really it was hard, and also just in the best way. It was one of the hardest things I'll ever do. Yeah. Just because of the intensity of it and being the only one there. So I'm really proud of it. Yeah. Really proud that it got made and we got it done, and John did an amazing job that way. So it's on Apple TV. I think I had one just come out called One True Loves that should be out in cinemas. Oh, I don't know. But yeah, there's a few of them around. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to go to work again soon, so I'll have more to come.
Yeah.
Many more to come. Hopefully some that are, I've got my Year of Living Dangerously and My Lives of Others coming up. And
I can see them.
Yeah.
I can see every movie in the future as
Yeah.
well. We have everything that's ever been made and ever will be made in stock in this store.
Exactly.
And I can see them out there.
Yeah,
in the back
they're out there.
shelves. They're
So
out there.
I'll hopefully be able to come back
Just
and
past the pornos, they're out
yeah,
there.
exactly. I'll come back and hopefully be able to hand over you a couple of good ones that are that are inspired by my choices today.
Well, I think they will. Thank you so much. Come back anytime, brother.
Thanks for having me, mate. I appreciate it.
Slipping through that chute, I'll put a pillow right there at the bottom
That's
so
so
they don't crack.
sweet. I don't want them to get hurt. Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
The last video store.
A big cheers and thank you to Luke Bracey for joining me in the last video store. What wonderful picks that he selected for us. The Banshees of Inisherin is available to watch on Disney+. The Year of Living Dangerously is on binge and you can get it on VOD. The Lives of Others, a great German language film. Unfortunately, I have to tell you, it's a little bit hard to find right now, but it's worth searching for. No Way Out, the Kevin Costner thriller classic, is on Amazon Prime. Missing, also missing in action. It's a great film, quite hard to find, but it's worth searching for. There's a great Blu-ray from Indicator in the UK that I have bought twice because I gave it to someone as a gift because I loved it so much. And Odd Man Out, the Carol Reed classic, is on the Criterion channel. So if you're a subscriber, definitely chuck it on. Until next time, I've been ALEXEI TOLIOPOULOS. This has been The Last Video Store. You can watch it on YouTube. You can listen to it as a podcast wherever you get your podcast from. And until next time, I'm going to tell you something and I'm going to make you hold on to it. Cinema is art. Books are not, because it's just writing. It's not as interesting in my opinion. Movies are, every movie is better than every book. Yeah, that's true. Sorry.